It's time for me to use my expert knowledge, painstakingly thorough research, and unfathomably based objective opinion to tell you the best and worst non-named characters from every 40k army. Are you ready for a video that's going to make a lot of people extremely upset at me, cause never-ending arguments in the comments, and continue my mission to provoke as many Imperial Guard players as possible? I've done this with units in the past, trying to find anything from any other army that could live up to a fraction of the Centurion's might. Unfortunately, there are no Centurion characters. That means we have to explore other models to find the best and worst from each army. Let's go over some ground rules. I won't be including named characters because it is basically guaranteed that they'll be the best of their army due to the fact that they are centerpieces and are created specifically to stand out. I'll handle named characters on their own in a future video. This is to try and find the best generic character models that don't even need to be given a real name to be incredible, and the worst models that don't deserve one. Where it might come up, I will not be allowed to use any duplicates. So if I say something is bad for one army, I can't say it's bad for an army that shares that model. This will most likely come up in the Chaos area. I'll be judging these based on a number of factors that have been heavily scrutinized by the top minds to ensure that these choices cannot be disagreed with, and a lot of it is just going to be based on how cool I think they look. But if you disagree, feel free to leave a comment below letting us know your choices so we can all see how wrong you are. Once you're down there giving your incorrect opinions, don't forget to like and subscribe. And with that out of the way, let's begin. It's actually very difficult to choose the best character for the Overzealous Sister Act because they're all actually really awesome. The Canoness, despite being quite a generic model, has a lot of nice weapon choices and still doesn't look too bad. The new Jump Canoness is excellent. I love this two-handed chainsaw eviscerator with this leaping pose. Even the Tactical Rock is fairly thematic. The Dialogus has this crazy preacher vibe down immaculately. And the Dogmata with this mace has the perfect pose and vibe that just says, "Come at me, heretic." The Hospitaller seems really fun as an apothecary equivalent with that 5+ feel no pain and bringing models back. Although it is weird that they're on the same size base as the Centurion just to fit a dying sister on there. What's that all about, Games Workshop? The Imagifier has the right idea. Stay on a smaller base sized by paper macheing that dying sister and crucifying them on a big stick. The worst model, on the other hand, is actually very easy to choose because it's the Ministorum Priest. The model just doesn't look like what you want when you're playing Sisters of Battle. But most importantly, if you pick this model for your army, you've made the conscious decision to not pick the best model, the Ministorum Priest with Vindicator. As disappointed as I am that it isn't holding this kind of Vindicator, who can say no to a flamethrower chainsaw? I mean, literally try saying no. It won't go well. Why would you use a model that's just trying to aggressively show you their sources when you could play a model whose sources that they just made it the fuck up and fuck you, I'm going to set you on fire and chop you in half at the same time? And speaking of setting you on fire and chopping you in half with a chainsaw at the same time, this video is sponsored by Tabletop Stronghold and their MDF carry cases and terrain. How on earth is that relevant? I guess you'll just have to find out by watching the Switch. With a Minicase 2.0 from tabletopstronghold.com, your minis will be safe and secure with the power of magnets. Even if you are set on fire and chopped in half with a chainsaw at the same time. I mean, I guess that... Okay, look, even I'm struggling with making this segue work. Just buy a Minicase. They're good. They are actually really good. I use mine all the time. It's really nice. There's 30% off right now in the Memorial Day sale, and free shipping as always to the USA, Canada, UK, Australia, New Zealand, and most of the EU. Oh, I've just worked out how I can make it segue. Okay. Get a Minicase 2.0 from tabletopstronghold.com, where I'll set you on fire and chop you in half with a chainsaw. Link in the description. Adeptus Custodes is an interesting one. And by interesting, I actually mean not interesting at all. What a weird line to write. Why would I say that? Anyway, the best is the Blade Champion. Good pose, 2 excellent weapon choices, got advanced and charge, reroll charges, 3 weapon profiles. You can't go wrong with this guy. The new Shield Captain does look a little weird, but it can't be the worst because it's at least a unique model. The worst is either the Shield Captain in Alaris armor or the one on Dawnbike, and because Dawnbikes are kind of cool, I guess, it goes to the Shield Captain in Alaris armor. Now, this model does look awesome, and it's tough with T7, it can reduce damage, free strats, all very nice. But when I'm talking about generic characters, I'm not talking about characters that are so generic that you cannot even tell them apart from their regular equivalents. It literally comes in the same box. It's a spot the difference to try and find which one is the character and which ones are just regular dudes. And I say regular because in reality, every Alaris Terminator is basically their own character. So it's hard to stand out as a character when the non-character is almost exactly the same level. This is really just a Custodes thing, I suppose, but still, it's not interesting. Get something more than just fancy shoulder pad filigree and apparently a different head plume, but for the life of me, I cannot tell the difference. Listen, if you aren't on board with the leggiest boy, then I don't know what to tell you. You're just wrong and your life has no joy. And if I'm right about that, I'm sorry. I hope things improve for you. And one way to improve that is get yourself a Sidonian Skratos. I'll never remember that name again because this is Leggy Boy. That's his name. He's Leggy Boy. This thing is just, it's indescribable. If you're feeling down, get one of these with some telescopic rods and just make the longest Leggy Boy you can, and you'll never be upset again. Could this model have been better? I think so. I think there are other other ways you could have done this idea, but he just looks so funny. I love this little guy. The worst is the Manipulus. He gives me Angry Gamer vibes. He looks like he's just seen some comment on his little screen when he's been browsing Reddit and is ready to say, well, actually, and then just post some misogyny. Or he's created a meme about another tech priest where he's depicted them as the Wojak and himself as the Giga Chad. You put all of this mass into your girth, but you still have this whole arm to mechanize and this uncouth, unsolicited foot tease to rid the flesh off. Come on now. Cult Mechanicus, sort this guy out. He's not right. Now, Aeldari are interesting, and by interesting, I actually do mean interesting this time, unlike Custodes. The generic characters are actually fairly few in number for an arm with such a huge amount of data sheets, and are, by all accounts, very generic looking, but that's mostly because of how many named characters the Aeldari have access to. I mean, good lord, that's a lot of named characters, and they are all incredible. The other thing here is that the non-named characters are actually all still fairly cool. I think my favorite is the Autarch. It's got a cool pose, and it just has so many options and ways to fit one into your army however you design your army, making it the perfect template for creativity. The worst? I don't know, Warlocks, I guess. They're the smallest and weakest of the characters, so by default that makes them worse. They look fine, but they aren't that interesting. And if you're about to ask about Harlequins, because I didn't include them last time due to their lack of unique units, look, there's 3 non-epic heroes. The Death Jester is an awesome, unique model. The Shadowseer is a fantastic, unique model. The Troop Master is just tweaked slightly from the box. Which do you think is the worst of those 3? And that's not to say that Troops and Troop Masters don't look cool, but one is a Sniper Clown with a Jester's trench coat, one is a prancing Carnival Wizard with a Wabberjack, and the other only comes in the box with the rest of the squad, and their existence means that the unit has to come in a weird squad sizes in case you bought a box of 6 and made one into a character. I shouldn't have to explain that to you. The Harlequins Codex is dead. It's time to move on. Okay, everyone, it's your favorite section of every Paulus Battlestar video. It's time for how many guard players can Paul Pierce off this time? All right, look, it's no secret that I don't like the guard models, but it's also not a secret that I actually kind of do like the guard now. Although you wouldn't think that wasn't a secret based on the comments I get on my guard videos from people who clearly didn't watch the whole thing and just wanted to yell, Cadia stands! Or they just love the idea of being a commissar so they can feel like a big tough guy because they're either a wannabe bully or just have no self-esteem in real life. Or quite possibly both. My channel is called Paul is Bad at Stuff. I play an army in a tournament with 18 Centurions. I created a guard opinion video as an excuse to make a shit post-mental breakdown. Don't take my opinions that seriously. Enjoy guard. Be just a dude in the 41st millennium. If you get annoyed at me ragging on guard, buy a leggy boy and let me be salty and peace about guard tanks destroying my Centurions. Anyway, best and worst characters. It'd be easy to put the Rogal Dawn tank commander as the worst character because fuck the Rogal Dawn. So I will. Fuck the Rogal Dawn. The best character, though, is a bit tricky because there's a lot of these command squads that are there to fit into the troop choices. So they have a lot of cool models within them. I'm not the biggest fan of Krieg, but I do like the Krieg Lord Commissar model within this squad. And as much as I think the idea of the Commissar being this arsehole who just shoots you for not licking their boots or whatever, I can't argue with the fact that the Commissar has presence. The Commissar has such an instantly recognizable style, which makes me want to be a big tough guy with a fancy hat. If you're a guard fan who got upset at my line earlier about commissars and didn't leave an angry comment immediately and continued anyway to make it to this point where I reveal my hypocrisy, congratulations! You've discovered the secret source of my videos. I'm as much as a hot mess as you are. The commissars are classic. They fit the theme of Imperial Guard perfectly, and they're the quintessential Imperial Guard character. I can't argue with that. I'm doing Chaos Demons here in no small part because I like the art I did for them the first time I did something like this and want to include it as much as I can. Demons are now being folded into the Mono Demon Chaos chapters books, but for now they still have an index, so I will include them. However, there is a lot of weirdness to this one. Generally, named characters are epic heroes, but the Chaos Demons have models that are essentially a generic version of a named character. This is something that comes up in a few different armies, but for Chaos Demons, they take it to the next level. For example, the Lord of Change is just Kairos Fate Weaver with only one brain. A Keeper of Secrets is just Shalaxi Hellbane, who forgot to bring their weapons. And a Great Unclean One is just a Rotigus, which someone at my most recent tournament exploited to a great effect by taking an army that included Rotigus and 3 Great Unclean Ones. A man after my own heart. So for this video, I will be excluding them. Despite them being non-named characters, they would just be the coolest because they are based off of these big centerpiece models, and it's not really fair on the other characters to be compared to something that is literally just a modified version of that. I'm also not going to include the Demon Princes here as they appear repeatedly through the Chaos range. I'll judge them as part of the Chaos Space Marine section. Spoiler alert, they probably aren't going to get mentioned again. They're cool, and I think they're awesome, but they're not the best or the worst in any of the books they're in. But by my count, that gives us 3 characters for Khorne, 4 for Tzeentch, 4 for Slaanesh, and 3 for Nurgle, unless I've missed some. There's a lot of characters here, and some of them are epic heroes when I wouldn't think they would be, but anyway, Anyway, like with the units, I'm going to be judging this army as a whole. I'm not going to do an individual ranking for each god, especially with how few choices there would be if you broke it down further. My favorite has got to be Floppity Bilepiper. Look at this guy. He's having so much fun and has the best name in the game. That is very closely followed by the Infernal Enrapturus, with this extremely gory nightmare harp that I've recently discovered can be a fucking las cannon. Floppity Bilepiper is just peak, but he's got to be careful I don't think too much more about the goddamn torture harp hyper cannon. The worst is probably one of the core ones because they're old. Bloodmaster, I guess. Khorne just isn't as interesting design-wise for me compared to Nurgle, Slanesh, or Tzeentch, so unfortunately, Khorne's going to take the loser spot here. Unfortunately, the knight sections are just going to be a retread of the first video in this series due to the fact that basically every model is a character. My favorite is the Abominant. I don't really have a least favorite. They're all the same except I gave maybe the War Dog character because it's smaller. And to save time for future, for the Imperial Knights, my favorite is the Lancer. And my least favorite is the Armiger character. If they even have one? Like the Chaos Knights have a War Dog character? I'm going to have to look this up, aren't I? Huh. They don't have one. Chaos Space Marines have a ton of cool models, but none come close to the Lord Discordant on Hellstalker, which is a bit of a cop-out because it's more of a centerpiece than the others, but if you don't like that, sue me. This guy's awesome, even if his rules are a bit naff. The worst, though, is way harder because they are all really cool, but I do think the Master of Executions is the worst. And that's partly due to the fact that I reckon you could kitbash a cooler one really easily. The normal one just doesn't give off that much energy to me. He looks a little bored of the whole thing, and it's the character that is easy to make on your own, so there's not too much of a point in getting this one. For Death Guard and the other god-themed heretics, I'm going to try and stick to just the exclusive ones to try and make things more interesting, which for Death Guard is very easy because they have a lot of exclusive models. I've always said that Death Guard is the most cohesive and well-rounded army in the game. They have a decent amount of unique things, and they all just fit so well into that slow, inexorably marching wall of stench theme, and their rules work really well with that theming. The best of the bunch is hard to pick, but I can't deny the bell from the Noxious Blightbringer. It just looks fantastic, but shoutouts go to the Lords of Contagion and Virulence for being close contenders here. The worst is the Malignant Plaguecaster, and that's just due to the fact that it's the worst looking of an incredibly looking cast of stinky chunk lords, so it's still cool, but it's just not as cool as the others. Unfortunately for Drukhari, even if we did include epic heroes, they don't exactly have that many characters to pick from. The worst is, by default, the Beastmaster, because it's not available. And you could just pick one of the Hellions you aren't using, because they suck right now, and say it's a Beastmaster anyway. But to make this section somewhat interesting, I think the worst generic character model for the Drukhari that is available is all of them. Their epic heroes, fantastic. Drazar, unbelievable. Lilith, unmatched. Urian, unavailable. But the generic ones, they're all dull. And the other problem here is that the Drukhari characters are by far the easiest characters to create yourself. I can't stop myself from making Archons and Succubuses. I have like 6 of them. Every new release that is remotely elvish or vampiric could be a Succubus or an Archon. Even if they're not close to that, I've even made my own homunculus from a Necromunda set. Because the rules don't really factor, because they don't change when you kitbash something, I have to officially declare that the Drukhari generic character models are all the worst, and the best generic Drukhari characters are all of them, if they're the ones you made yourself. I'll be honest, I almost completely forgot about these guys when I copied my list of armies over from my previous notes, so I'd best include them now before I get a lot of angry people yelling at me. But it's okay, you can still yell at me for not including Imperial agents, because they aren't a real army. The Emperor's Children are now a fully fledged army alongside their counterparts dedicated to the other 3 Chaos Gods. Fulgrim looks fantastic, but it does somewhat bother me that he gets a slightly bigger base. It's like when they do a book series or a DVD box set and one has a weird case that doesn't go with the others. But still, it's an awesome new model. I don't know too much about this new army, so let's have a look and see how many generic characters we have to pick from that are exclusive to Emperor's Children. There are 2. Lord Exultant is the best, Lord Cacophonous is the worst. Now, this town ain't big enough for the 2 of us, and you ain't going quick draw faster than a guy with 3 arms, so you best skedaddle out of town before this rootin', tootin', pointin', shootin', tri-wielding gunslinger decides your ass is grass. You'd best be moseying along now back to the ranch with all the worst characters, which includes all the normalish looking fellas. Cause if you put a gun to my head and ask me which one of these was the Locust, Nexus, Magus, Primus, Sanctus, or Clam Chowdervis, I'd have a bullet in my brain real quick. This one's the Primus, right? So in the units video, I put the Nemesis Dread Knight as the worst, despite really liking them. I just really like the style of the Grey Knights, despite them showing their age. And so the units like the Terminators just look really cool, so I couldn't put the Nemesis Dread Knight in the best spot there. But this time, fuck the haters. Best character is the Grandmaster in Nemesis Dread Knight. I love this baby carrier Matrix walking looking thing. God damn, it's so silly, but so this. The worst is, I don't know, the Librarian. I guess it looks the least Grey Knighty out of all of them. The best, though, it's a no-brainer. I didn't even have to consult the experts for this one. The Leagues of Votann is a new army which has very few units and is still waiting on a potential second wave of units to support them. Despite that, it still has more available characters than Drukhari, so I don't really know what the fuss is about. Anyway, our choices here are Robot Wizard, Robot Engineer, a Cinder Block, and a guy who points at people. The best is the Brock here Ironmaster. He just looks like a badass and carries a giant gravity gun. He just has aura, as I believe the kids say. The worst is the Carl, just because it's kind of the least interesting one. It's still good though, but something's got to be the worst, except for the couple of times where it wasn't just one model. But don't judge me, all right? Well, now, looking like we got ourselves a contender in this fair town. Maybe the way to defeat our triple gun-toting hero is to replace them 6 shooters with 6 shooters. Yeehaw, or something. I think this bit has run its course. Yes, the best character is quite obviously the Hex Mark Destroyer, because you cannot deny the power of any model that has the rooty-tooty point and shooty. And the rules are actually really cool as well. The best characters are the ones that both work in the army anyway, but are also the models that people who don't play the army want as well. I'd love one of these guys. I'd love to build it and paint it and put it next to the leggy boy that I want that I don't have either. The worst is the Transcendent Catan, because I can't put the other Catans here as they are epic heroes, and it feels cathartic to put this in here for anyone who had to suffer the pain of playing against Catan spam. Remember, weight of fire. Make them roll them saves. Don't let them half any damage. Look, this video already had a horrible Wild West accent bit. Does it really need me to do another horrible voice? Oh, I guess it's time for the Orks, and because Orks is the best, all of these proper bosses are the best. They's all real lads who can crop good and have the loudest. Whoa, except I guess the weird boy is a bit old now. He needs a bit of an update, but otherwise all these bosses are the best. Now get out there and start crumping. Whoa. The best is the new Big Mech. He looks really awesome. Without such... God, that orc voice hurt. Anyway, without a Centurion character, this is going to actually require some thought. And also, before we go on, a lot of people were upset that I forgot the Divergent chapters in the last video, and I didn't include a section for Blood Angels, Dark Angels, Space Wolves, Death Watch, and Black Templars. I don't know how to tell you this, but they're Space Marines. If I had to play against Deathwing Knights and the Lion in the Stormlance detachment, I'd have to keep eating nerfs because you Divergent arseholes can't stick to your own bloody books, and you counter Space Marines, and I'll judge you all together. What, you want me to judge the best and worst Blood Angel units? Oh, goodness, what a difficult choice that would be. Is it the Space Marine units that are painted black with the red X that are the best, or the literal flying golden angels? Wow, what a hard choice that totally needs to be included as its own subsection. Let's have a look at the characters. Oh, which of these 4 non-named characters shall I choose? Is it the same Captain painted red, the same Captain painted black, a jump Captain painted black, or an apothecary with a cup? Oh, I should really include that as its own section, huh? Damn, which of these Black Templars units is the best? Is it the Crusaders? Ooh, the Primaris Crusaders, how interesting. Or maybe it's one of the several vehicles that are exactly the same, but with Black Templar written before it. Oh boy, which Dark Angels character is the best? Oh wow, there's one that isn't an epic hero. Good fucking lord, how exciting. I really should have tried to find out which of these Dark Angels units are cool, because there's just so many unique and different... Okay, there's a fair few interesting Dark Angels units. I'll give you that one. And as a Thousand Suns player, I'm morally opposed to discussing Space Wolves. I think that's the law, right? The worst Space Marine character is the Phobos Captain. The model is fine, and the guy was awesome in Space Marine 2, but he's the worst for the simple fact that his data sheet makes no goddamn sense. Look at the Phobos Lieutenant. It has Deep Strike, Scouts, and Infiltrate abilities as it can join units that potentially have access to all of those things. The Phobos Captain, however, does not. He also has Stealth, but has no way of giving it to his squad, because every model in the unit must have it to get access to it. So Incursors, Reavers, and Infiltrators get nothing. The best unit for this guy is the Eliminators, as their abilities match, and he can provide them with nothing. His core rule is decent for the army. Redeploys are nice, but otherwise you probably aren't spending command points here. Also, with an Instigator Bolt Carbine, it gives the unit of Eliminators access to that move, shoot, move. Except it fucking doesn't, because the Eliminators rule specifies that it has to be the Eliminator Sergeant's Instigator Bolt Carbine that is equipped to get the benefit. So what's the point of the Captain having the same named weapon if it doesn't even provide the benefit you get when you take it in the Eliminators? The best is the Judicia. This guy is an absolute beast. He looks awesome with this leather coat draped over one shoulder, wielding this amazing Executioner's Blade, walking towards you with an hourglass counting down the time until you're fucked, and his Fight's First ability and Precision Devastating Wounds has got its fair share of characters for me. Absolute cinema of a character. You'd think the easy answer here for the best character in Tau would be one of the commanders, because the crisis suits are iconic, but the best is actually the Lone Spear. All three Kroot fans are rejoicing right now. This absolute champion goes into battle riding a dinosaur and throws a spear with a bomb on it at you. I'd like you to convince me that isn't way cooler than a guy in a mech. Okay, yeah, the guy in the mech is really cool. But still, the worst is the Ethereal. His smug aura mocks me while he rides around on his Roomba. He just looks like a twat. This video should be coming out just before the new Thousand Suns Codex release, and whilst the leaks are out there, there's nothing new really that would change my opinions for the dustiest of armies. I mean, change the objective facts, not much. Whatever. There aren't too many non-named characters, and this is an interesting one because while sorcerers and Terminator sorcerers appear in other Chaos books, they are a lot more defined here, so I will include them. This army is also unique in that each one has access to different powers depending on whether they're regular, exalted, Terminator, or Beyblade. And the exalted sorcerer's box is one of the best boxes that you can buy because it gives you so many parts to make unique models, which makes judging them based on looks very tricky, which is, I suppose, as Zeech would intend. Oh, there's also the Zangor Shaman. He's cool. I like him. Fortunately, YouTube has just given me access to a new feature. Similar to the AB thumbnail testing, there's now AB video testing. What perfect timing for discussing the bringer of change. So you will all individually see a slightly different version of this section. Whichever one gets the most positive responses will be the chosen video. So let me know down below which version you saw and if you agree. The best is the Exalted on disc because the disc is awesome and the Sorcerer can be assembled in so many different ways. The worst is the regular Sorcerer, mostly because you're likely to have made a model that can either be an Exalted on foot or regular Sorcerer, and one of those two has the word Exalted in the name, so it must be better. It's basic maths, really. I'll be honest, I thought Tyranids had more characters, but I think that's probably because they have a lot of big gribblies that aren't characters, like the Norns, the Neurothrope, who is now just folded into the Zoanthropes, Lictors, Psychophages, etc, etc. So there's not actually that many to choose from. I would have chosen Death Leaper until I found out it was an epic hero. So I think I'm going to go with the Turvigon. I don't see this thing much. I think probably because it's based on the same model as the Tyrannofex. I just like the idea of this thing being a walking spawner of Gaunts, a massive monster which just sends endless waves of horrible devouring gribblies at you. And the worst is the Winged Tyrant Prime, because it just looks out of place. It's a small fish in a large ocean of cosmic horrors. It also doesn't really mesh with what it can lead. It doesn't look like it would go well with gargoyles, and it's too fast for warriors. The leaders of the Tyranids should be these big monsters like the Hive Tyrant, not this pipsqueak. Wait. There's only one non-named character unique to World Eaters, and it's the generic version of a named character? I guess there's also the newest one, the Slaughter bloke. Damn, World Eaters, I guess the reason you eat worlds is because you aren't exactly eating good elsewhere. At least your Forge Fiends are decent now. Mostly because it's at least something new and not a reskinned epic hero. The winner is Slaughter... What was her name? Slaughterbound. That's the one. I mean, it does look cool at least. And the worst is the other one. Obviously, there's only two. And now you have been educated on the best and worst non-named character models for every 40k army. Let me know down below how thankful you are for me providing you with this information, and discuss if your opinions match these objective conclusions. And as always, thank you very much for watching. If you enjoy this, like, comment, subscribe, all that good YouTube stuff. And if you really enjoy this educational video, be sure to support this channel by becoming a member or patron like all of these big-brained individuals. Your support keeps this channel alive and gets you access to the super secret supporters club. We endlessly kit bash Drukhari characters from literally anything we can find.